Let's check the latest news updates with APARNA VATS.
Namaskar. Welcome to Friends World TV. This is the English Bulletin. I'm APARNA VATS and let's go through the headlines today. Prime Minister Narendra Modi arrives in Russia on two-day visit. J&K team meets Amit Shah, says he assured curbs to be eased in 25 days. Vikram lander performs second maneuver, all eyes on September 7 moon landing. Indonesia is moving its capital, and what next for Jakarta? Hurricane Durian causes total devastation in Bahamas and now moves towards the United States. Walmart to stop selling ammunition for handguns, assault-style weapons. Serena Williams overwhelms Xiang Wang at US Open. Roger Federer beaten by Grigor Dimitrov. Virat Kohli gets his crown. Now, the news in detail. Prime Minister Narendra Modi arrived in Russia Wednesday on a two-day visit during which he will hold summit talks with President Vladimir Putin and attend the Eastern Economic Forum. His visit to the Russian Far East region is the first by an Indian Prime Minister. Landed in Vladivostok, capital of the Russian Far East and the crossroads of a dynamic region, looking forward to joining various programs in this short but important visit, Narendra Modi tweeted at 5:09 a.m. IST. In Vladivostok, Modi will attend the 5th Eastern Economic Forum as the chief guest at the invitation of President Putin. He will also hold the 20th India-Russian Annual Summit today with Putin. During his stay, Modi and the Russian president will visit one of Russia's major shipbuilding yards. On September 5, Modi will attend the Eastern Economic Forum as chief guest and hold bilateral talks with several leaders on the sidelines. He and Putin will also visit an international judo championship in Vladivostok in which a 6-member Indian team is participating, Gokhale said. He also said a number of agreements, including in the coal mining and power sectors, are expected to be firmed up during Modi's visit. Ministry of External Affairs spokesperson Ravish Kumar tweeted, PM Narendra Modi was warmly welcomed at Vladivostok airport on his third bilateral visit to Russia. Over the next 2 days, bilateral meeting with President Putin, participating at Eastern Economic Forum and meetings with other world leaders on the agenda. Before departing for Russia, Modi said he looked forward to discussing regional and international issues of mutual interest with President Putin. Modi also said his visit underlines the desire of the two countries to diversity and further strengthen bilateral relations. A J&K delegation which met Union Home Minister Amit Shah Tuesday said he assured them that restrictions on communication in the Kashmir Valley may be lifted in less than a month's time, and that the next Chief Minister will be from among them. Nearly 100 people, including members of village panchayats, sarpanchs, apple growers and representatives of people displaced during partition, met the Home Minister at his North Block office to discuss their problems, including the hardship caused by curbs imposed ahead of the removal of the special status of J&K. They said they also discussed the road ahead in the new setup. At the conference hall in North Block, Sarpanch after Sarpanch stood up to describe how the removal of J&K's special status under Article 370 had empowered them. He also tried to assuage fears of large-scale takeover of land in Kashmir in the wake of the August 5 announcements. In a statement, the Ministry of Home Affairs said, Shah reassured the representatives that nobody's land would be taken away and government land would be used for the establishment of industries, hospitals and educational institutions. This would not only create employment opportunities for the locals, but also enhance tax revenues for the state, which in turn would be used for the welfare of the people. Shah said that it was essential to change the atmosphere and bring the people of Jammu and Kashmir to the mainstream. He promised to begin the process of block-level elections as quickly as possible. He told the representatives that your fight is against terrorism as is ours. Hence, we should ensure an atmosphere of peace in Jammu and Kashmir, and that too at the earliest, the MHA said. Hailing them as leaders of J&K, Shah said it would be their responsibility to ensure that the benefits of various government schemes reach the correct beneficiaries and that an atmosphere of peace and prosperity is maintained, the MHA said. Manoj Pandita, a Sarpanch from Pulwama, said they had assured the Home Minister of their cooperation in restoring normalcy in the state. Pandita said, "We will go village to village to explain the benefits of the new setup. On communication," he said, "we will wait for another 10 to 15 days." The Vikram lander of the Chandrayaan-2 mission successfully carried out the second deorbiting maneuver in the early hours of Wednesday. The Indian Space Research Organisation ISRO said the 9-second maneuver was performed at 3:42 a.m. With this, the lander is ready to begin its final descent to the moon, which is scheduled on Saturday, September 7. With this maneuver, the required orbit for the Vikram lander to commence its descent towards the surface of the moon is achieved, ISRO said in a statement. The lander, which carries the Pragyan rover inside, is scheduled to commence its descent to the surface of the moon between 1 to 2 a.m. on Saturday and will touch down between 1:30 to 2:30 a.m. The first deorbiting maneuver was carried out at 8:50 a.m. on Tuesday. The 4-second maneuver was performed a day after the Vikram lander separated from the Chandrayaan-2 orbiter. In the last week, India's second lunar mission has taken several steps and is just days away from creating history as it prepares for a soft landing on the surface of the moon. The Vikram lander separated from the main spacecraft module on Monday and is orbiting the moon independently. It will orbit the moon and relay information to ISRO for at least 1 year. The main spacecraft module of Chandrayaan-2 had reached the near circular orbit this past Sunday. Its orbit is 119 kilometers from the moon's surface at its nearest and 127 kilometers at the farthest, according to the information given in the ISRO statement. Former NASA astronaut Donald A. Thomas Sunday said when India's second mission to the moon, Chandrayaan-2, would land on the lunar surface, everyone at the US Space Agency and people around the world would be watching it. The former astronaut was talking to reporters after an event at the Park College of Engineering and Technology in Coimbatore in Tamil Nadu. The lander and rover components of the Chandrayaan-2 spacecraft will make a soft landing in the south polar region of the moon, unexplored by science so far. So, all the best to the Chandrayaan team from the entire team here at Friends World TV. For Jakarta, the first warning signs appeared in 2007 when one of the city's worst floods was triggered by a regular tide, with some places being buried under as much as 16 feet of water. The floods killed over 80 and displaced over 5 lakh people. Indonesia's President Joko Widodo on Monday announced that the capital of the country, which is Jakarta at present, will be relocated to the province of East Kalimantan on the less populated island of Borneo. The relocation is meant to reduce the burden on Jakarta, which has been facing problems such as poor quality air, traffic gridlocks, and is particularly prone to flooding. It is also the largest Indonesian city with a population of 1 crore people and is located on the northwest coast of the most populous island in the world, Java. Indonesia's new capital, which hasn't been named yet, will sit on a 1.8 million hectare area, which is about 3 times the size of Jakarta. The cost of this capital relocation is expected to be over $32.7 billion. The suggestion for changing capitals is not new, since several presidents before Widodo have made these suggestions in the past. However, he has been relatively aggressive about implementing the relocation plan. In 2014, the giant seawall or giant Garuda is the name of a bird from Hindu mythology and is Indonesia's national symbol. A coastal development project was launched by the government meant to protect the city from floods. The project is still in the making. Since Jakarta is the center for administration, governance, finance and trade, it has inevitably led to relentless construction in the city, due to which the water is not able to seep into the ground and in many areas leading to increased runoffs. Because Jakarta was built on a marsh already a few meters below sea level, it is especially prone to being submerged. Due to climate change, the water levels in the Java Sea are rising and weather events are becoming more extreme. The main cause of Jakarta sinking is Jakartans themselves. The digging of illegal wells, because Jakarta does not have adequate piped water, have been steadily draining the underground aquifers on top of which the city sits. Essentially, it is a combination of climate change and heavy congestion in the city that continues to bury the city about 25 centimeters into the ground every year. The National Development Planning Agency will prepare a draft bill which will detail the process of relocation of the capital, the planning of which is expected to be complete by the end of 2020. The construction of the capital will take over 2 to 3 years, and the government institutions will start moving out of Jakarta between 2023 and 2024. Rescue officials have reported scenes of utter ruin in parts of the Bahamas in the wake of Hurricane Durian, the most powerful storm on record to hit the islands. The Prime Minister, Hubert Minnis, said 7 people have been killed by the hurricane and that he expected the toll to rise. However, the full scope of the disaster is still unknown until the storm completely passes and rescue crews can get on the ground. More than 13,000 houses, or about 45% of the homes in Grand Bahama and the hard-hit Abaco Island, are believed to have been severely damaged or destroyed, according to a representative of the Red Cross. It's total devastation. It is decimated, apocalyptic. It looks like a bomb went off, Leah Head-Rigby, who helps run a local hurricane relief organization, said about Abaco Island. United Nations officials said more than 60,000 people on the hard-hit islands of Bahamas will need food, and the Red Cross said some 62,000 will need clean drinking water. What we are hearing lends credence to the fact that this has been a catastrophic storm and a catastrophic impact, as a representative from the Red Cross said. Duan San, the Bahamas health minister, said the hurricane has rendered the main hospital on Grand Bahama unusable, while the hospital in Marsh Harbour in Abaco needed food, water, medicine and surgical supplies. He said crews were trying to airlift 5 to 7 kidney failure patients from Abaco who had not received dialysis since Friday. We are hoping and praying that the loss of life is limited, he said. Volunteer rescuers have used jet skis and boats to reach some people as choppy floodwaters reached roofs and tops of palm trees. To the south, the Bahamas' most populous island, New Providence, which includes the capital city Nassau and has over 250,000 people and suffered little damage. Hurricane Durian has tied the record for the strongest Atlantic storm ever to hit land, matching the Labor Day hurricane that struck Florida's Gulf Coast in 1935. Walmart stepped forcefully into the national gun debate on Tuesday, saying it would stop selling ammunition that can be used in military assault rifles. It would discourage its customers from openly carrying guns in its stores and could call on Congress to increase background checks and consider a new assault rifle ban. The move comes exactly 1 month after a gunman walked into a Walmart store in El Paso in Texas and killed 22 people. The tragedy put pressure on the nation's biggest retailer and a large seller of firearms and ammunition to respond to the wave of mass shootings across the country. Walmart made the announcement after weeks of discussion and research about how best to respond. The company said that after selling through our current inventory commitments, which would take several weeks, it would discontinue the sale of certain short barrel rifle ammunition and all handgun ammunition. The move could be a risky one for Walmart, with possible backlash from customers and gun rights advocates, but it also had the potential to spur other companies to action. Shortly after Walmart's announcement, grocery chain Kroger said it was too requesting that its customers not carry weapons into its stores. Walmart stopped selling the type of assault-style rifle that was used in the El Paso shooting several years ago, but the company will now cease selling effectively and ammunition that could be used in those weapons. Uncharacteristically, for a company that normally avoids publicly wading into political issues, Walmart also called on leaders in Washington to implement stronger background checks to remove weapons from those who have been determined to pose an imminent danger. The company said it also supports reviving an effort to pass an assault rifle ban. As we have seen before, these horrific events occur, and then the spotlight fades, Walmart's chief executive Doug McMillon said in a statement. We should not allow that to happen. Congress and the administration should act. Walmart described its new limits on ammunition sales, which also includes no longer selling any for handguns, as dramatic. The decision is expected to reduce the company's share of the nation's ammunition market to as low as 6% from 20%. The company said last month it accounted for about 2% of the nation's firearm sales. The move to discourage customers from openly bringing firearms into stores, which other companies like Starbucks and Target have taken in recent years, could prove challenging and divisive to implement. Store workers will have to be trained how to request that customers not openly carry their weapons into Walmart locations, and the laws can vary by state. The new policy stops short of banning open carry in the company's stores. Rather, the company said it would begin respectfully requesting that customers not bring their weapons along while they shop unless they are concealed. To sports now. Serena Williams has won her 100th career match at the US Open with a dominant win over Xiang Wang, but Roger Federer went down to Grigor Dimitrov in 5 sets. Williams defeated her Chinese opponent in well under an hour, winning 6-1, 6-0 to set up a clash with number 5 seed Elena Svitolina of Ukraine for a berth in the final. The shock of the evening came when Federer departed the tournament, with 5-time champion losing in 5 sets to Bulgarian Dimitrov. Dimitrov, unseeded in New York, came from 2-1 down to beat the Swiss 3-6, 6-4, 3-6, 6-4, 6-2. The number associated with Williams' quarterfinal victory was so stark. Winners 25-0, points 50-15, minutes 44, score 6-1, 6-0. This is the portion of the tournament that is supposed to be where winning a Grand Slam title gets difficult, where the remaining players are among the very best opposition around. And yet there was Williams in Arthur Ashe Stadium, making one of the last 8 women in the draw, someone ranked number 18 in a world of billions, look and feel completely overwhelmed. This was her 100th match win at the US Open, dating to her debut in 1998 as a teen. Monfils, who is seeded number 13, plays number 24 Matteo Berrettini in one of the men's quarterfinals on Wednesday, when Rafael Nadal meets number 20 Diego Schwartzman in the other. And from home, there was no burst of spontaneous celebrations from the Indian fielders. Even their usually expressive skipper Virat Kohli seemed detached. As Ravindra Jadeja grabbed the final West Indies wicket to wrap up the match and series, hugs, handshakes and warm smiles ensued. But there was no frantic high fives or fist bumps as they trooped off to the dressing table with the strut of a team ranked number 1 in the world of 5-day cricket. They are making test wins look ridiculously simple, almost commonplace, a hallmark of world beaters. It's a throne they have been warming since 2016. They have occupied it in the past well, but it has been in the last 12 months that they have begun to exude the aura of a world number 1 side. If the maiden series win in Australia was an indication of potential world-beating greatness, the drubbing The drubbing of West Indies was a clarification that the mantle of greatness closer to their grasp than ever before in their history. Languishing at the bottom of the ranking pile, West Indies could be, but a 2-0 triumph over them can't be merely brushed off as minnow bashing. After all, the same West Indies had thrashed England in a test series at the stroke of this year. It was just this that India played ruthless cricket. Ruthless like the best sides in the world, ruthless like great teams in the world. Their efforts reflect this collectivism. Since 2016, no bowling unit has taken more wickets, 303, at a better strike rate of 50.8 and average 24.8 away from home than India. A rare distinction for an Indian bowling unit. It's not a coincidence that it is not a coincidence that most of the overseas games had featured a certain Bumrah, who in 12 games has plucked 62 wickets at an average of 19.24. He gets a wicket with every 44th delivery he bowls. So much so that Kohli reckons him the most complete bowler in the world now. Not just Bumrah, Ishant and Shami too have contributed tellingly in this span and in this series too. Ishant with sustained sharpness in the first test and Shami with searing spells under the scorching Sabina Park sun. Together, they stitched up Kohli's 28th win as a test skipper, the most successful Indian skipper ever, and remarkably, he achieved it at a faster rate than all of his predecessors in 12 games, fewer than MS Dhoni. Well, that's our news today. I'll be back next week with more. Namaskar.